Hello, my fellow gaming tankers, and we have a new premium tanky. Before we get too far, no, there will be no featuring of the SK-105A2 Kürassier gameplay. I have no interest in purchasing this supposed tank, sure, but I have seen at least the V-Shot and the Petty 360 video, and I've seen the quotes, and I thought too at first, reading in what brief history I could find on the SK-105A2, that it should be an Air 2. Well, unfortunately, WarGaming got it right. Sort of. Yes, the final apparent iteration of the Kürassier, the SK-105A2, was actually released in the 1980s. Which is, I guess, why it is a premium tank and not part of a tech tree, as this is a production vehicle that saw service with the Austrian military and a few others, actually. But more on that later. So this actually is in the correct spot in Era 3, although the penetration for this boom snout, as I've seen from what I could find, I was like, yeah, it's wrong. But then again, it's been append for Era 3, so I'm assuming if this was part of a tech tree line, the Era 2 would have about the 360 millimeters of penetration it's supposed to have. Basically, if you want a free idea of what this is like, but with slightly more armor, if you have the TR-85M1, that has slightly less penetration, slightly less alpha, but very kind of similar if you want to get an idea what the pen's going to be like. But anyway, this tank, well, there is a version that actually, well, you see, there is a collaboration between Austria and Argentina. And because I've now mentioned Argentina, we're now going to feature the TAM, because I've been wanting to do a video on that, and here's my chance. So, another premium we will get will be the SK-105A2 with a L7-ish type cannon, or boom sound, sorry, that Austria got from Argentina, who was working on, obviously, the TAM, but for whatever reason, Austria decided to go all mostly French with the turret and boom snout, but never with the British L7 style rifled barrel boom snout like their neighbors the German did. It was a weird thing, I don't know why, but they ended up having one with, they tried out one with a higher powered 105 millimeter boom snout with an L7, and as it was like some other small light tanks that basically, if it was fired from anywhere, but as Chieftain put it, and that's Chieftain the YouTube channel, he did a 3-part video on the Kürassier. You should check that out. But I've heard of that version with the high-powered 105 meant that it could not be fired at any, if it was fired anywhere between past 10 and 2 o'clock. So basically, if it was turned 180 degrees and fired, it would, it would really rock the tank, possibly to a catastrophic result. But anyway, so here we are now playing the peeled potato, because I sort of got the TAM looks like a peeled potato. And this, it's kind of like how I see the Kürassier being appreciated either by collectors or some Unicum who just wants to test their skills. It was like when I first saw that the Kürassier was coming, I'm like, why is an Era 3? Yeah, it fits. It's supposed to be an Era 3, because production dates, I guess. It's got me really thinking, though, as I started looking at dates, because, can we get Era 4? Just the 90s. We have the Leclerc T4. That was a prototype from 2014. We have the Jaguar Black. the Chinese-American collaboration tank that relation ended when some incident happened in a square. And that happened in 85, but that's in Era 2. The SK-105A2 woke up. Another one was, God dang, these tanks are in the right spot, and you're obviously by increasing the penetration on the 105, because 105 millimeter boom snouts in Era 3 are interesting, and giving that just enough pen to be usable pretty much at the midpoint of the match and after. Save your health points, stick with the pack, stay behind your pack, and that way you can eventually clip them out. I mean, lowering it down to Era 2 wouldn't work, but I do have a theory that either in 2 years' time we will get, I think we might be seeing another a independent hybrid tech tree line, because we have the TAM here, which is Argentinian. We have Brazil, which we have the Osario, which is Brazilian and independent, and now we have an Austrian. I'm struggling not to say Australian. Austrian tank that also had dealings with Argentina and Brazil. So I think we're working towards a hodgepodge tech tree line, kind of like the T-72 M2 lines, with Argentina, Brazil, Austria, maybe? I don't know. Comment down below. Oh yeah, like and subscribe. And because that is the only way these small nations do have tanks, but they don't have a huge tank line because they're smaller nations and they don't have a huge military budget. So they either make some Frankenstein tanks, or they're like, well, we're going to make our own tanks, but it's going to be on a budget, a la the TAM. So, yeah, that was just my thoughts. Yeah, Kürassier, I have the TCM AGS. It's going to be just like that. Similar to that, I should say. I'm assuming it'll have better camo, but with the spotting capabilities of the MBTs in Era 3, I feel like this is just really weird to be putting out a tank with nothing interesting in it besides a 9-clip autoloader, which I look forward to all the other SK-105s when they come out in the tech tree line. There are several variants, all starting in the early 70s. So, and if what little I've read on it is true, it's 360 millimeters penetration, yeah, that'll clip them out in Era 2, which everyone was complaining, no, don't put it in Era 2, it'll be destroyed by autocannons. Yeah, a lot of tanks will be destroyed by the autocannons in this game, because a lot of the light tanks and some of the mediums, the penetration on the autocannons is too high for game balance. But as seeing as we can all get a 20 mil autocannon or a 30 mil autocannon relatively easily, it's a bit democratized. We can all inflict the pain, and we can all be forced to endure the pain. So, you know, unless you are the only player with the XM800, which I don't think that's possible. So, I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Yeah, WarGaming, by their rules, got it right, but they had to fudge the numbers a little bit to make it functional, which is why maybe we should start talking about Era 2. That doesn't involve drones. Stop talking about drones. And it's just 92 to 2002. Alright? I mean, with the M1A2 in there, it's just... things really broke when they brought in the Leclerc T4, because it's like, that's not from the 90s. That sure as hell ain't from the 90s. It even says so in the synopsis for it, so... anyway. Say what you will in the comments, but technically it's in the right area. Game-wise, it's an easy pass. Will I get it? Maybe someday. I'll be honest, I'm glad to see it for $9,300 gold. That's pretty decent discount for an Air 3, so I would say either get it now. I don't think, if it's in a bundle, it might not be worth it. Either get it now or in 3 years, if there's an op for it or a contract maybe. But I think there's a few skilled enough players in Air 3 that'll make it work to be the point where, you know what, you got to pay to play the SK-105A2. So I'm going to let this play out. I've said my piece. I have to agree with WarGaming because by their logic it works. I just hope that either we get the Swedish tank line in Cold War, because we have 3 of their tanks, or, you know, we get a new independent line. We could do with a few more independents. Was Sweden independent? I don't know, man. It's hard to keep track of all this border changes and stuff. But anyway, I will probably not look that up because I can't stand not knowing. Alright, I'm going to drink my Guinness now. I hope you all keep your tracks on the ground, orange juice in your favor. And I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.